What's up chaps, I'm MagicalMike and recently I played LEGO Lord of the Rings. I really wasn't going to do a video on this because I just planned on playing it for myself and then leaving it at that, but man, I spent like 30 hours on it and I kinda want to talk about it. So remember, if you like this sort of video, then you'll find more like it on the channel, so drop a like and maybe think about subscribing. Cheers! So, LEGO and Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings. I haven't really seen the films nearly as much as most people seem to have done. I certainly can't quote as much as most people, but playing the game has got me wanting to go back and watch them all again, so at least that's a plus. And I do love LEGO, not that I really get to mess around with real LEGO these days, but I would if I could. But what of the games? Well, LEGO Lord of the Rings really makes you feel like a LEGO, or a ring, or a lord. Now that low-hanging joke is out of the way, yeah, they take a franchise and they adapt it to fit in with a LEGO world. Meaning, people are replaced with minifigs, scenery is replaced with LEGO bricks, objects, weapons, tools and whatnot are all replaced with the LEGO variants, and where possible, all of these things and more are altered for humorous results. The ring, for example, in this case, is a huge object that fits on a minifigure's entire hand. Boromir's death scene isn't him being shot heroically with arrows, but other much sillier objects including a banana and many others. Samwise runs around beating things up with his frying pan. Merry and Pippin use a bucket and a fishing rod, and all sorts of silly alterations that fit in with the physical style of LEGO's humour. I wouldn't say a lot of the jokes landed all that well for me. I enjoyed them, but I wasn't sitting here laughing at them. I'm not really a fan of the LEGO games in general though, I just started Lord of the Rings because it seemed like a casual playthrough at the time. And I was kind of right. It's a super laid back game, as far as I know all of the LEGO games are, but man did I underestimate how long this one would take. I think the main story took me like 10 to 15 hours or so, and I'm unsure of that fact because I did a lot of in-between stuff between story missions. Getting 100% took me 32 hours, which is nuts for how much content you'd expect from this sort of a game these days. So if you like the overall gameplay, then there's a ton of it here. But that being said, the overall gameplay does tend to just boil down to bashing the attack button or jump attacks to smash the scenery apart to earn studs. Pretty much anything you do earns them, but part of 100%ing of the game makes you earn 10 billion of them, which is kind of a lot. It means being diligent in breaking absolutely everything you see in levels, which also drags out some of those levels a little bit too much. The Dead Marshes, for example, was probably 15 minutes longer than it needed to be. If you want my advice, as someone new to the progression style of these LEGO games, play the story first, get what you can out of that, and then if you want to then 100%, grab the multiplier red bricks as soon as you possibly can, so that grind disappears faster. I actually didn't need to grind for anything in the end, but you'll see a lot of guides that say you will, and if you do things a little bit wrong, then you will. So overall, the levels were fun. They have all the sounds, music, voice acting and characters and set pieces, even boss fights, all things that were implied in the films and not quite shown. It's all there in the game. It's cohesive, and it's overall fun to play through. I'd recommend it just for that, to be honest, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan. But in between, they have a whole open world hub too. You can wander around Middle-earth and it's all connected, it's all there. There's fetch quests to find, there's mithril bricks to gather and secrets and things like that, and all sorts of characters to interact with and purchase for play. If there's a random Lord of the Rings character that you can think of, they're probably in this game. Yes, even Tom Bombadil and random orcs like Shagrat, though not all of them are playable. There's even reason to have some of these unlocks too. Characters can only do certain actions. Legolas, for example, can jump higher and swing on poles. Well, in fact, all the elves can do that. Anyone wielding Narsil or Anduril can break certain bricks. Sam can do a ton of stuff. He's actually the true hero in the game as well as in the actual material. And you can smith various tools with those mithril bricks that you found to do even more stuff, like making a mithril trowel, and now anybody can use it to dig, not just Sam. Just play Sam, he's the best character. Anyway, there's absolutely tons of stuff to do in the game. It's basically a huge collectathon with some light puzzle solving, light combat, basic platforming, pattern-based boss fights, and heaps of welcome Lord of the Rings goodness. It would have been nice if the Fellowship didn't have all of the abilities that you needed. There was very little reason to play any of the random characters that I'd unlocked, but oh well, not a big deal. You kinda want to play the Fellowship, let's be honest. The LEGO angle is it's alright. It's got a lot of quality to it, but I think the thing that gets you to play a LEGO game in the first place is the franchise that they've chosen to base it on. LEGO Batman, for example, I gave up on after just a couple of hours, but this one was much better. And while I don't think the LEGO games are all that much fun for me, they are still pretty good overall. There's a reason that they have a good, solid reputation, and this one was a fun time regardless. So in the end, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that's given to us. LEGO Lord of the Rings, pretty good out of 10. Cheers.